The American Civil Liberties Union and Texas Civil Rights Project are now suing the state of Texas over its new immigration law.
Now, the legislation makes illegal immigration a state crime. The law, known as SB 4, would allow Texas state officers to arrest migrants suspected of crossing the border illegally. Illegal immigration is currently a federal crime, and the White House and Mexico's president have both come out against the new law.
CBS News Texas anchor and reporter Ken Molestina joins us now from Fort Worth to discuss how this is being received where you are. And Ken, specifically, I want to know how people in the border communities are reacting to what ultimately could put a lot of people at risk.
Yeah, a lot of people, Errol, that's absolutely right. Really the reaction, and I spent all of day yesterday speaking to different people in border communities, different leaders and law enforcement officials. The reaction is split, quite honestly. I think there's a big understanding across the border that something needs to be done, but there's a lot of pushback on SB 4 because of the legality of it. There's a lot of folks who think that it is not the business of state or local law enforcement officials to be enforcing immigration laws. But, when you talk to Governor Abbott and other folks who are proponents of SB 4, they'll tell you that something needs to be done, that we need to empower local law enforcement, sheriff's officers and police officers, for example, to enforce, because the Border Patrol down there is just being overrun with the number of migrants, the high volume of migrants that are crossing illegally, and because they say that the federal government, quite frankly, isn't doing enough to help the situation. So it is certainly split. It is something that is very controversial, and as you mentioned earlier, it's something that is already starting to play out in the courts.
Ken, I want to understand better what the implications actually are of SB 4, because illegal immigration is already a federal crime. What will happen now that Texas has also made it a state crime?
Well, it would become a Class B misdemeanor, punishable by up to 6 months in jail, in a state jail. So that's essentially the punishment. But what needs to happen here is the logistics of how this is all going to play out. Should it actually go into effect? And by the way, it's set to go into effect March 4th. Obviously, this is going to play out in the courts. So barring any sort of legal decision, if everything stays on course, March 4th is when all of this will go into effect. But the one thing that we haven't heard of, we haven't seen, is logistically how all of this is going to play out. You have this is going to affect local municipalities and counties. It's going to affect their bottom line because they're going to have to pay for the prosecution of these inmates. A lot of them are already strapped for jail space. There isn't a lot of space in detention centers. I spoke to one border sheriff, Sheriff Brad Coe in Kinney County. He sits right between Del Rio and Eagle Pass, two of the hot areas right now. He only has space on any given day for 3 prisoners in his jail. So anybody who is arrested there naturally needs to be sent over to detention centers in neighboring counties, in neighboring cities. So I asked him, I said, well, how is this going to work for you all if you can only have 3 people? And his response is, well, we have some things that we need to work out. We're going to see how that will play out. We're going to take it day by day. So that kind of gives you a sense that even folks who are in favor of SB 4, they really have no understanding right now of how logistically this is all going to play out.
All right, Ken Molestina, thank you.
Thanks, Ken.